Lesson 1-3, we are going to add integers. Example 1, Dana recorded a temperature drop of 2 degrees and a second temperature drop of 3 degrees. What is the total change in temperature? We could represent this using integers. We first have a temperature drop of 2 degrees. So if the temperature is dropping, that means that it's getting lower. So I could use a -2 to represent a drop of 2 degrees. And a second temperature drop of 3 degrees. So once again, we're going to drop, so we're going to decrease by 3. So that could be represented by a -3. So really, I have a little expression that I could just add these two integers to solve this problem to see the total change. We could also use a number line to figure this out, as we have done in previous lessons. So let's just explore this with a number line. So we don't know what the temperature actually starts at. We just know we're looking for the total change. So we can start at 0. From 0 we drop 2 degrees, so go left 2. Then go left 3 places to show -3. And notice on the number line we arrive at -5. So the change in temperature is -5 degrees, which means that it's 5 degrees less than where it started. So we used a number line, but usually when we add integers, once you get used to doing this, you often will just use a rule. Notice here that we added 2 negative integers, and the result was a negative sum. If we were to add 2 positive integers, the result would be a positive sum. So we have a rule that we can use every time we add integers with the same signs. When adding the same signs, add and keep the sign. And you could just kind of use a little shortcut to remember this. Same signs, add and keep. Example 2, we're just going to find the sum. We have -4 plus 3. So we'll just start with a number line to look at this problem. So our starting point, if we're not given a starting point otherwise, is always just at 0. And so from 0, we're going to go 4 to the left to represent -4. And we arrive at -4, and then it adds 3. So when we add 3, we're going to go 3 to the right. And when we arrive 3 to the right, it's at -1. So we found that -4 plus 3 is -1. So I noticed that we added 2 integers with different signs, a negative and a positive, and we got a negative answer. So let's see what might happen if we change that 3 to a 6. So we're starting with a -4, so we went 4 places to the left on the number line, but this time we're going to add 6. When we add 6, we arrive at +2. So I noticed that when I added numbers or integers that were different signs, that sometimes I got a negative answer, sometimes I got a positive answer. So what we might look at is what's going on within the relationship and the integers to start with. We have -4 and +3 results in -1. You might notice something going on with 4 and 3 that could result in 1, just ignoring the signs. Or in our second problem, what could go on between 4 and 6 that results in 2 if we ignore the signs? You may notice that you could subtract just the absolute value of each number to get the sum. Also, look at the signs. When we said -4 plus 3, the sum was negative. Notice negative 4 has a greater absolute value than 3. It's further from 0. When we added negative 4 plus 6, we got a positive 2. Notice that the positive 6 has a greater absolute value. It's further it is further from 0, and so that made the answer a positive 2. So when adding different signs, subtract and take the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value. So we think different signs, subtract, and take greatest absolute value. Okay, so I'm going to let you try a couple problems. Find each sum. You can use a number line, or you can just use the rules. I would suggest using the rule and then go back and use a number line to see that your answer worked, that it was correct. Give you just a little time. Go ahead and pause here, and then you can play back in a little bit once you've tried answering these problems. Okay, on the first problem, we are adding the same signs, negative 4 plus negative 7. So our rule says that when adding the same signs, we can add and keep the sign. So same signs, add and keep. 4 plus 7 is 11, and they were both negative, so we kept our sign and got negative 11. Number 2, we're adding negative 5 plus 8. We're adding different signs. Our rule for adding different signs says that we can subtract and then take the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value. So I'm going to think of subtracting. 8 minus 5 is 3. And then of these two numbers, the number that's further from 0 is positive 8. So since it was positive, I leave this as a positive 3, and that's the answer.